The Adirondacks are a super popular place to hike, and that causes conflicts. That's all well established. Trails get overused and eroded. Parking lots and roadsides get dangerously crowded. Another problem is neighbors who get frustrated by all that traffic near the trailhead. That happened last summer with the Saranac Lake Sixer bucket list. Some people thought Baker Mountain should be taken off the list because so many people were parking and going up there. An environmental group wants to open a big new tract of land to hikers near Saranac Lake, but people who live nearby aren't happy. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day is provided by Renew Architecture and Design, designing camps, custom homes, and more throughout NCPR's listening region. Details at renewarchitecture.com.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Tuesday, April 11th. First up, 2 months after the state Senate rejected her pick for Chief Justice in a dramatic showdown, Governor Kathy Hochul announced her next pick yesterday. Rowan Wilson has been an associate judge on the Court of Appeals since 2017. If approved by the Senate, he would be the first black chief judge. Hochul's first choice for chief judge, Hector LaSalle, was rejected by the Senate in January. The governor says she also plans to nominate Caitlin Hannigan to fill Rowan's vacancy on the Court of Appeals. Hannigan is a former state solicitor general and served as general counsel to the New York County District Attorney. With no state budget in place, lawmakers have passed a spending extender for the second week in a row to keep the state running. As Karen DeWitt reports, the debate is still going on about potential changes to bail reform.
Lawmakers returned during a 2-week holiday break to approve the second 1-week extender. That will take the state through next Monday. Senate Finance Committee Chair Liz Krueger spoke on the Senate floor.
There are no budget bills in print for us to vote on today. Hence, in order to ensure that the state of New York continue its government in operation with its workers being paid, we need to pass an additional extender today.
The bill ensures that biweekly checks for 83,000 state workers will go out on schedule. Senators and assembly members will not be among those getting paid, though. Under state law, their pay is held in escrow until the new spending plan is approved. Republicans, who are in the minority party in both houses, complained about the second one-day session that's been held since the budget deadline was missed on April 1st. The ranking Republican on the Senate Finance Committee, Tom O'Mara, says everyone knew that the Passover and Easter holidays were going to make it difficult to get back to work until April 17th. He says doing one longer-term extender on April 1st would have saved taxpayers money. Even though lawmakers are not being paid their salary, they still can collect travel and related expenses for each trip to Albany. That adds up to an estimated total of $70,000 each time.
And saved the state the expense of calling the legislature back here for one day last Monday and one day today.
Governor Kathy Hochul, speaking over the weekend outside the governor's mansion where she was hosting an Easter egg roll for neighborhood children, says it's more important to get the right budget than an on-time budget. Hochul is seeking changes to the state's 2019 bail reform laws to give judges more power to hold defendants accused of serious crimes before they go to trial. She wants to eliminate a clause in the law that requires judges to use the least restrictive means when deciding whether to set bail or not.
My priorities have been clear from the very beginning. I'm going to make sure that we have bail laws that give the judges the discretion that I believe they should have. It is simply clarifying law that has added to confusion.
Democrats who lead the legislature have not agreed to the changes. They say the data does not show that the bail reform laws are responsible for the recent crime surge and are being made a scapegoat. Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie was asked by reporters if there's been any progress bridging that gap.
Nothing's been settled.
Hochul is also seeking an ambitious housing program. It would allow the state to override local zoning laws as part of a plan to build over 800,000 new housing units in the next few years. The governor says something needs to be done to ease the state's affordability crisis.
I cannot say that we can leave this legislative session and this budget process without doing something substantial to increase the housing stock in the state. We have a severe shortage.
State lawmakers have rejected proposals to interfere with municipality zoning regulations. They instead want to increase grants to localities to encourage more housing construction. Hochul and lawmakers are at odds on other significant portions of the budget, including whether to allow more charter schools to open and whether tuition should be raised at state universities. The governor and legislature also disagree on whether to ban flavored tobacco products, including menthol cigarettes. In Albany, I'm Karen DeWitt.
A green group in the Adirondacks wants to build a small network of accessible trails near Saranac Lake, but neighbors of the property are pushing back. The Adirondack Land Trust says trails at the Glenview Preserve could provide a place for people with disabilities and others to enjoy the 240-acre property. Folks who live nearby, though, worry that could bring unwanted and dangerous traffic to the area. Emily Russell spoke with Elizabeth Izzo from the Adirondack Daily Enterprise about the debate over the Glenview Preserve.
So just first of all, can you just describe what the Glenview Preserve is right now?
Yeah, so the Glenview Preserve right now is really a preserve. Right now it's owned by the Adirondack Land Trust, and they're managing the property for pollinator and wildlife habitat, water quality protection, and maple syrup production. It's located next to the Harrietstown Cemetery on Route 86. People might know that it's in the vicinity of Donnelly's Ice Cream.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of one of the iconic views in the area, right? Like if you're driving between Paul Smith's and Saranac Lake, you look out and you can see Whiteface, the Mackenzie Range, and a lot of people pull off and will take photos there.
Yep, it's a popular view from Harrietstown Hill, the mountain ranges you just mentioned. Pretty frequently people will, when they're driving by, pull off Route 86 onto this unofficial pull-off that exists right now next to the cemetery, take photos. And the Land Trust has said that they've even fielded requests from people who want to have their weddings there. It's a beloved scenic vista.
So what does the Adirondack Land Trust want to do with the property? And it's, what, 238 acres. So what's their plan? What's their hope for the property?
So what they're proposing here is building almost 3.5 miles of accessible trails, overlooks for bird watching, and building a new multi-car parking area, a shelter for portable toilets, and a pavilion.
There's been a public informational meeting about it. What are folks saying who support the project, and then what are folks saying who are against it?
The Land Trust's concept plans kind of first came to light this past October. They had communicated with neighbors prior to that, but last October was the first time that we really saw what they were hoping to do in terms of public access on the property. They held a public hearing last October on this project, and at the time, just like now with this most recent public hearing, it was really split between neighbors who really opposed the project and people in the broader community who like to recreate outdoors, who really liked the idea of public trails there.
It's not a hugely populated area around the preserve, but what are some of the people who live near it? What are their concerns about if this place is developed?
Yeah, so just to put it into perspective, this preserve is off of Route 86, which has a 55 mile per hour speed limit. So one of the main concerns is that neighbors are worried about traffic and potential accidents in that area if it were to be developed. To kind of work with the neighbors on that concern, the Land Trust has said that they are going to try and work with the Department of Transportation to lower the speed limit in that area.
So what is next for the project?
The Land Trust is hoping to start construction next summer, but it has to go through the APA. There might be another public hearing. And on the neighbors' end, neighbors are considering starting a petition or potential lawsuits.
That was Elizabeth Izzo, the editor of the Adirondack Daily Enterprise, speaking with our Adirondack reporter, Emily Russell. So remember yesterday I said we were still about $7,000 from our spring fundraising goal? Well, guess what? We're now a few $1,000s over that goal. Hooray! That's $310,000 plus to keep public radio strong, to keep our newsroom doing the hard and great and fun work you expect. Thank you so much. Music today by Lost in Beijing of Keen and Ben Cato of Jay. I'm David Sommerstein, North Country Public Radio.